Thanks for tuning in to the highlights from Day 5 of the 2023 Project Edward Week of Action. We'll be rounding up activities with reports from the West Country, Humberside and the Midlands, as well as getting the latest social media report on our Week of Action from Neil Jewson-Smith. But first we head to Scotland and meet George Henry from Road Safety Scotland, who explains how data drives their operations and activities.
I think the key priority groups around motorcycles, age, behaviour, as something that we really want to focus on, as well as our vulnerable road users. Scottish Government are investing a lot of money into active and sustainable travel, and we need to ensure that those collisions don't start increasing in those areas. Motorcycles are still a priority group that is overrepresented for the number of them that are on our roads. 1% of traffic, I think, around 20% of our fatalities. So that's something that we need to really kind of target. The prime markings, which have been a real success story. No collisions where the prime markings have gone down. Certainly our carriageway markings as you lead into a bend, so motorcycles can position themselves in the carriageway to go around the bend in the right riding line, and as safe as possible. So that's a real success story, and continuing on with our national campaigns. But there is absolutely still a lot of work to be done within that user group. Through the kind of national campaigns, we've got a motorcycle working group that we're working with the associations, having them feeding out our messages, I think is going to be important going forward as well. And that's something that we need to continue doing, breaking down the barriers. There's been various work along with our partners in Police Scotland, etc., where they've gone and meeting the riders and speaking to them at key locations around our network as well. And again, something that we'll continue to do going forward.
George Henry from Road Safety Scotland. And so to our first road trip report, which comes today from Darren Lindsay.
We're at the Devon County Show, which you can probably see in the background. We've got many things to cover today, but two in particular. The first thing that we're going to take a look at is a jackknife vehicle. But on this occasion, it's going to have a large animal inside, so we're going to see an extraction.
Today we're at Devon County Show 2023, and this is an agricultural show in the heart of Devon. And being an agricultural show, we're emphasising on the risks and highlighting the dangers of towing. During 2021, we had 647 incidents involving agricultural and towing, and we had 47 fatalities on our roads of Devon and Cornwall.
Just to kind of keep that horse as calm as possible while we're trying to get it ready.
We've been mobilised to a vehicle that's jackknifed, in this case it's a horse box, and the horse is still in the back of the vehicle, and essentially it's trapped. The horse has fallen, unable to extricate himself, so we've been called as a specialist rescue team to assist with the extrication of the horse from the vehicle as safely as possible. So we'll arrive as a team from Exmouth. Just be aware, I think people drive around every day perfectly safety, but then all of a sudden especially when they suddenly chuck a trailer on the back, maybe their awareness they've got that additional weight, additional forces on the vehicle, maybe unaware, and obviously the fact they've got a rather large animal, you could have up to another 500 kilos in the back of the vehicle that people maybe have not practiced enough, not been aware of, and just kind of reduce their speed in accordance with the additional load that they're carrying.
The second part is going to talk a little bit more about intelligence and technology and the things that Devon have introduced, which will be flying above here.
Last year was our worst year, 2022. We had 16 fatalities involving motorcyclists and 187 life-changing injuries, and that doesn't account for also the other injuries on top of that as well. Part of the enforcement strand has been to utilise our police drone team. Operation Cosset, as it's now known, involves marked motorcycles on the ground that can obviously be a lot more manoeuvrable, get somewhere very quickly, stop vehicles very easily. And they work closely with the drone team, where the drone will be at 150 metres and it can spot motorists and motorcyclists from up to 7 to 8 kilometres away. We can monitor someone's driving behaviour towards a stop site, and then we can intercept those motorists. We can either take them to the stop site and show them exactly what they were doing.
Wow, what a day. We thought we'd finish up on the appropriate type of equipment here, this small little mini moto. But we've covered a lot. I've really enjoyed what I've seen so far, and I feel really encouraged by what's happening here in partnership. We saw the drone and how it's being used to sort of make people aware of some of their habits and activities, certainly on motorbikes. And finally, really, we had a few people wrap up, and you can probably sense the atmosphere around here about the collaboration and partnership at the Devon and County Show. But I just want to say a great big thanks to everyone. We've thoroughly enjoyed the hospitality down here. We've learned so much, and we hope you have too.
Darren Lindsay reporting. Now, we've been very grateful for the support of National Highways to allow us to deliver the 2023 Week of Action. Here's an excellent video they prepared recently promoting safety around HGVs on their network.
HGVs have zones all around them where their visibility is limited. You may not even know you're in one.
Lots of party games.
Of course.
Like pass the parcel.
So pass them safely, and where possible, don't linger next to an HGV.
Tory sponge, that is my absolute favourite.
Look out for each other. Know the zones.
That video on truck safety came from National Highways. Time to see where Stuart Lovett has been on day 5 of his road trip across the north of England.
Hi, today we're with Mrs O'Loughlin from Newton Park Primary School. Why is it important to have road safety at primary school?
So we're really keen to make sure that the safety and wellbeing of the children extends beyond the school gates. Many of our children walk to school independently, some of them cycle, particularly those children that you've engaged with today. So it's really important to us to involve other organisations in coming in and helping to make our children aware of road safety.
And we've got Prison Me No Way in as well, which is obviously about choices. So is that good for the school, good for the pupils?
Yeah, definitely. And the children have really been looking forward to having these folks in today. So it's really important that the children understand how to make those sensible and safe choices to give themselves the best future.
But Ruth, we're here in a prison cell, which is a mobile unit that they bring into the school. So part of the Prison Me No Way scheme, what is the purpose of bringing this to the school today?
What we do, the actual charity Prison Me No Way goes around primary, secondary schools, and they talk about consequences and choices that young people might have in their lives. And one of the consequences would be if, say, for example, you're a young driver and you drive recklessly and you end up killing somebody, you could end up being sent to prison. And this is a representation of what prison life is like. So this is the size and what is happened in a cell. So what they show young people is actually, as you can see, it's not very glamorous. You're in with somebody you don't know. It's just, and this is going to be your life for the next few years if you're sentenced to time in prison. This is the 4 walls you'll be looking at.
Because first of all, suddenly a hand went up in the air and she said something. And I just instantly looked. I wasn't looking at the road, I looked to see what she was doing. And I was to tell her, stop doing that. We go into any schools, primary, secondary, businesses, colleges, anywhere really that we can talk to people. We go out into the streets, talk to the general public, just to raise awareness and make people that bit safer when they're on the roads.
I think it's really important with something like Project Edward. It showcases how all different agencies, whether the police, councils, fire, National Highways, anybody can get involved in road safety, the local schools can. And it's actually about kind of making sure that aspect about making sure people aren't killed and injured on our roads. That's a really good message, and that's what we're really happy to be involved in Project Edward with.
Well, from Project Edward, thank you very much for taking part this year.
You're welcome.
So today that we've done the filming with the children, I was very surprised just how engaged that they were. But as you say, this is about choices and consequences of those choices, and obviously this is about the potential outcome of if you get those choices wrong.
Yeah, this will be the outcome if you make the wrong choice, if you don't actually think about what you're doing, perhaps if you give in to peer pressure, or actually you're just so sort of not switched on to what you're doing, you could get yourself in trouble, and in which case you could end up in a jail cell like this.
Well, having seen the potential consequences of spending your time in here, it really does make you think that you need to think about what it is that you're doing when you're out on the roads.
Yes, certainly does.
Stuart Lovett reporting. And from Stuart to Ian Greenman, who's circled the Midlands with Keenan Lloyd Adams and the home counties to end up with his teammate in the Welsh county of Gwent.
End of the week, Project Edward, day 5. Take the site detour today, back to Wales, God's country in every way. Now, we're here this morning with Gwent Police. Several key agencies are all here today to look at enforcement action.
So today's called Up Utah. It's targeting dangerous vehicles that are on the road. We are basically targeting the Fatal 5. We're also targeting commercial vehicles and vehicles with defects on the road to promote better road safety for us. The DVLA are here. They've got an ANPR camera out on the road at the minute, so they're targeting the vehicles that are untaxed. We've got trading standards here as well today. They are looking for a few vehicles that are bringing counterfeit items into the Pontypool area, and they're selling those goods over our counters. We want to remove them from the road, and we want to find out who they are.
I work as a telecoms engineer full-time, and I'm out on the roads of Gwent, literally from 8 in the morning through till 4 or 5 in the evening. Days like today really do bring home things with drink drivers, drug drivers. It's not just themselves that it impacts, it can be other people as well.
We run Operation Utahs predominantly on a month-by-month basis, where we set up a checkpoint and then we use our roads policing vehicles to bring in vehicles of interest into the site. I'm one of few senior investigating officers for road death in the force, so it's my job to go to incidents of serious road traffic collisions and fatal road traffic collisions and start the investigation at the scene, targeting our Fatal 5 offences, things like drug driving, drink driving, or careless or dangerous driving. That then contributes to less road traffic collisions on our roads and effectively less serious and fatal road traffic collisions on our roads.
It's nice to try and prevent some of the Fatal 5 things before we end up having to get involved and deal with them.
Well, that's all from us here in Gwent. Now let's take a moment and watch a new video on post-crash response from National Highways.
My name is Adrian Spencer. I am the lead for the road casualty reduction team within the West Midlands Fire Service. Advice I'll give to our road users is to ensure that they plan their journey before setting out, ensure that they obey the speed limits on the road, and focus on their driving and not allowing themselves to be distracted.
I am Sergeant Liam Hemmings, a patrol officer with the Central Motorway Police Group. If you find yourself in an emergency situation, press your e-call button. The e-call button can be found on the centre of the roof lining inside your vehicle, next to where your interior rear view mirror is located. Once that is pressed and activated, it will go through to the emergency services, and then you'll be able to speak to them in relation to what incident is taking place. The drivers and occupants are our main priority at a road traffic collision, making sure that they're safe and that they get any medical care that is required. Secondly, our priority would then be the investigation of that road traffic collision.
My name's Tony Phipps, I'm a National Highways Traffic Officer. There are approximately 4 million journeys undertaken every day on the strategic road network. Unfortunately, incidents do happen, and we're here today to talk about how we'll keep you safe. Traffic officers are often the first to arrive at the scene of incidents. Our first imperative is safety, so we'll make sure the scene is safe and everybody involved in the incident is safe. Then we'll look at traffic management.
The role of the National Highways Regional Operations Centre is to coordinate an incident as a whole. We then will deploy a crew to the incident to find out where the incident is, what's involved. We'll also use CCTV in order to locate the incident. We'll set signs and signals to make sure that that incident scene is safe. From the control room, we will liaise with all emergency services and make sure that we've got the correct emergency services at scene, whether that be ambulance, police or fire, and make sure that we get the road open as quickly and safely as possible.
My name's Cameron McVitie and I'm a Tactical Incident Commander for West Midlands Ambulance Service. When the Ambulance Service receive information from the e-call from our police colleagues, it's our statutory duty to respond to emergencies alongside our multi-agency colleagues. When we're considering the clinical care that's provided to patients on scene at an incident, that's the responsibility of the commander to ensure that the ambulance assets are working in conjunction with our multi-agency partners to provide the best clinical care for the patients at that time.
We use a variety of different ways to provide updates to our road users. We have the National Traffic Information Centre, which help put out updates via the gantry signs across the network. We also use a mixture of social media, radio and television to get out updates to road users.
Now we're off into Cardiff University Hospital, Wales, to look at a new multi-agency approach to training, which includes doctors in the pre-hospital phase.
I think there's so much potential in terms of communication between different services, because I think, as we saw in some of the clips today, which I don't think we've realised before, is you aren't really all separate services. In the end, you all do work as one big team together.
Even early on in their training, I think there will be a public perception that if someone ran up to one of our students, any member of the public, and asked for help and asked if they were medically trained, there would be a bit of an expectation that they would be able to provide some appropriate interventions.
We don't see a lot of acute medicine. We don't see the car crashes because that's the paramedics' job. We just get it on the other end of them. And so it's really helpful to actually see what they have to go through, the police, the fire, everyone's information, how we're going to get all that in the hospital.
Okay, so here we are in Warwickshire now at the unveiling of the amazing sculpture, which is paying tribute to all those people who've either been seriously injured or lost their lives on the roads in Warwickshire.
We are totally committed to delivering the Safe Systems approach to road safety in Warwickshire. One aspect of that is how we look at post-crash collision situations and respond to victims who've been caught up in these awful collisions. And in looking at all of that, we realised we had to do more to provide a permanent memorial for road victims in Warwickshire.
The tree really sort of represents that. It's this idea that there's a peace and there's a tranquility when people come and think about their loved ones which were lost.
So Project Edward can support and raise awareness of our National Young Rider Forum Day on the 27th of June. We are doing a dedicated webinar for people who are interested or are currently learning and are looking to do their CPT and get involved in motorcycles. We've got a range of speakers involving the DVSA, speaking about topics such as PPE, maintenance and post-crash collision care.
Road Peace is the national charity to support victims of road crashes, and the first thing we do is help people through the most awful traumatic experience, whether they've been bereaved or had a life-changing injury. We help navigate through the justice system, we help them campaign, and we help remembrance as well.
I don't agree with it at all, really, because I know when I go out with my friends and stuff like that, I know how expensive it is to drive. With then taking 2 or 3 cars to a certain location, that's double them in price. And then the emissions on top of that is double and triply increased anyway. So them saying they want to save the environment, sort of contrasts in the actual what they want to do with that new law. However, obviously there is technology like the black box, which is like sort of like that, where you sometimes can't drive past 11 o'clock, or it does judge you on your driving if you're going too fast. So it can obviously stop the dangerous drivers from being even more dangerous than they are already.
I believe, obviously, once you pass your test, there will be people being sceptical on you're a new driver. But I think once you pass your test, you've taken the lessons, there's nothing that differentiates you from people that have been driving for longer. I think that having the year gap, they're claiming it will make you more experienced, but I feel like the longer time you have carrying passengers or driving after night, I think that boosts your confidence, make you a more experienced driver, rather than having a gap year, then having to get used to taking people again.
Personally, I feel that I don't want that, but I can see why people are trying to introduce it. Obviously, young people getting into car accidents, and obviously, sadly, people losing their lives. So that's obviously why they're trying to bring it in and stop people from really like messing about and thinking like they're really cool driving. But like, I personally don't want to see it, but I do understand why.
I think it seems unfair. Once you passed your test, you should be able to carry passengers, drive at night time. If they don't want you doing that, then incorporate it into the lessons and stuff like that. Because I think once you pass your test, there should be no restrictions, or if there are restrictions, then they should be the same for everybody.
Time for a social media update now from Neil Dewson-Smith.
Project Edward social media update day 5, coming to you from Portsmouth this morning. What a great week for Project Edward. Just put on record our thanks to everybody that supported the campaign this week and ongoing with our Project Edward 365, which will continue running throughout the whole of the year. 3 tweets to mention from Friday. First one, National Highways, an important point about the SOS button on your car. Modern cars have them now. Know where it is, know what it's for, know how to use it. Really important points. Second one is Blue Light Aware, a great resource, supported us all this week and all last week with their short videos on how drivers should respond to the presence of emergency vehicles whilst out on the roads. Great videos, well worth going and having a look to help our emergency services get to collisions and incidents quicker and therefore potentially save lives. Final one is a Scrabble image that we got from Twinkle Toes Road Safety. I made a mistake. I thought it was from somebody else. I thought it was from our founder James, but it's from Twinkle Toes Road Safety, and it's a Scrabble arrangement of letters with some great road safety messages. So those are our tweets of the day. But once again, Project Edward 2023 draws to a close. Thank you to everybody for amazing support, and we look forward to seeing what we can do in 2024.
Neil Dewson-Smith with his final look at social media. And that brings this roundup of highlights to an end and indeed closes the 2023 Week of Action. We're extremely grateful to all our sponsors, to those who've hosted events and invited us along, as well as to everyone who's followed our progress through these videos and social media. We'll be busy pushing out more extensive accounts of our many visits during the Week of Action, as well as evaluating what we did and planning what happens next. Thanks very much for tuning in as we look to keep building momentum and support for the long-term reduction and elimination of death and serious injury on our roads. From everyone at Project Edward, it's a sincere thank you and cheerio for now.